the silent killer. 6 storage stakes, destroying your classic car, the slow death of American iron. There is nothing quite like the sound of a high-compression, big-block V8 screaming down a back road on a crisp Saturday morning. For those of us who live for the smell of unburnt hydrocarbons, the roar of a glass-pack muffler, and the mechanical clunk of a Muncie 4-speed, these cars aren't just transportation. They are rolling history. They are a physical piece of the American dream, forged in Detroit steel and fueled by pure adrenaline. But here is the gut-wrenching truth. Most classic cars don't die on the track, in a high-speed chase, or even in a fender bender at a car show. They die a slow, silent, and agonizing death in the darkness of a garage. You think you're saying it by tucking it away for the season. But if you're making even one of these 6 common storage mistakes, you are literally inviting the rust gods to feast on your investment. Today, we're going beyond the basics. I'm exposing the 6 storage blunders that turn pristine muscle cars into expensive, seized-up lawn ornaments. Stick around until the end, because mistake number 1 is something 90% of owners get wrong, and it's the reason your engine might not even turn over come springtime. 6. The concrete sponge trap, ground-up decay. Most guys think a concrete garage floor is a safe haven. It looks solid, dry, and clean, right? Wrong. To a chemist or a veteran restoration expert, concrete is a porous, living, breathing slab. It's basically a giant sponge that pulls moisture straight out of the water table and releases it right under your car's undercarriage. When you park your pristine ride on bare concrete for months, you're creating a microclimate of corrosion. That moisture gets trapped in the dead air space between the floor and your frame. It starts as a light dusting of orange on your suspension, and by the time you notice it, it's already eaten through your floor pans, brake lines, and fuel tank straps. The pro fix: never let your tires or your frame touch bare concrete for long-term storage. Use a heavy-duty vapor barrier, a thick plastic tarp, or specialized garage floor tiles like race deck. At the very least, park on a set of thick plywood sheets or carpet remnants. You want to break that moisture chain before it turns your subframe into Swiss cheese. 5. The flat spot nightmare. Suspension and rubber tires are the shoes of your muscle car. And let's be real. A set of authentic Goodyear polyglass or high-performance radials isn't exactly pocket change. If you leave your car sitting on its own weight for 6 months, you are asking for radial flat spotting. The internal steel belts and polyester structure of the tire begin to deform under the constant, unmoving pressure of 3,500 pounds of American iron. When you finally take it out for a spin, it'll feel like you're driving a square-wheeled tractor, and sometimes that vibration never goes away. Even worse, the rubber begins to dry rot, because the essential oils in the tire only move when the rubber is being heat cycled. The pro fix: overinflate your tires by about 10 to 15 psi before storage to maintain the sidewall shape. But the real way to do it? Put the car on high-quality jack stands. Warning: put the stands under the suspension points, like the lower control arms and rear axle, not just the frame. If the suspension hangs at full droop for months, you'll dry out your bushings and ruin your shocks. You want the car in a natural weighted state without the tires touching the floor. 4. The rodent motel buffet, electrical sabotage. Rodents, mice, rats, and squirrels love your classic car even more than you do. Why? Because vintage wiring, pre-1980s, was often wrapped in materials that contain soy-based products or natural fibers that smell like a 5-star buffet to a mouse. They don't just eat your wires. They build nests of doom in your heater box, chew through your rare leather seats, and leave behind gifts containing uric acid that will eat through floor, paint, and metal. A single mouse can cause $5,000 in electrical damage in a single weekend, and you won't find the short until you're halfway down the highway and your dash starts smoking. The pro fix: this is war. Don't just use one trap. Use a multi-layered defense. High-quality peppermint oil on cotton balls is a great deterrent, as are dryer sheets stuffed into the interior and trunk. But the most important step? Physical barriers. Seal up your exhaust tips and air intake with stainless steel wool or mice mesh. If they can't get in, they can't set up shop. And for the love of all things V8, do not leave a box of tissues or a rag in the car. That's just free bedding for their new nursery. 3. The standard pump gas varnish, fuel system failure. This is where the chemical warfare starts. Modern pump gas, the stuff you get at the corner station, is loaded with ethanol. Ethanol is alcohol, and alcohol is a magnet for moisture. If you leave a half tank of cheap 87 octane in your car over the winter, that fuel is going to phase separate. The water settles at the bottom of the tank, rusting the metal from the inside out, while the gasoline turns into a thick, sticky, foul-smelling varnish. This varnish will clog your carburetor jets, seize your fuel pump, and turn your fuel lines into a solid pipe of jelly. The pro fix: before you tuck her in, run the tank almost dry, then fill it to the brim with non-ethanol recreational fuel. Add a high-quality stabilizer like Seafoam or Estabil and run the engine for at least 15 to 20 minutes. You need to make sure the stabilized fuel has replaced the old gas inside the carburetor fuel bowls and the entire length of the fuel line. A full tank also leaves no room for humid air to condense on the inner walls of the tank. 2. The acidic oil erosion, the internal eat-away. A lot of guys think, I'll just change the oil in when I start it up. That is a catastrophic mistake. Used engine oil is a toxic soup. It's full of combustion byproducts, nitric acids, moisture, and unburnt fuel blow by. If you let that dirty oil sit in your crankcase for 6 months, those acids begin to microscopically etch and pit your engine bearings, cam lobes, and cylinder walls. You are literally letting your engine eat its own internal organs while it sits. The pro fix: always change your oil and filter immediately before storage. You want fresh, alkaline-rich oil coating your internals while the car is dormant. Give it one last heat cycle with that fresh oil to distribute the zinc and phosphorus, ZDDP, everywhere it needs to be, then shut it down for the season. Fresh oil has the full strength of its TBN, total base number, to neutralize any acids that try to form. 1. The ghost overheat, the electrolysis myth. This is the big one. Most classic car owners think as long as the garage stays above freezing, the coolant doesn't matter. Dead wrong. Coolant isn't just anti-freeze. Its primary job in a classic is to be an anti-corrosive. Over time, the chemical inhibitors in your coolant break down and the fluid becomes a conductor. Because classic cars often have a mix of different metals, a cast iron block, aluminum intake manifold, and a brass or aluminum radiator, a process called electrolysis begins. A tiny electrical current actually flows through the old coolant, literally pitting the metal and eating holes in your water pump, timing cover, and head gaskets. This is why you see pitting on the mating surfaces of old V8s. It's a silent thief that steals your engine's life. The pro fix: test your coolant with a pH strip. If the pH is off, or if it's been more than 3 years, flush the system and refill with a 50-50 mix of distilled water and the correct green coolant, IAT. Distilled water is key. Never use tap water, or you're just adding more minerals for the electrolysis to use as weapons. The no-start pro tip: fogging the cylinders. If you're storing your car for more than 3 months, do yourself a massive favor and fog the cylinders. Pull the spark plugs and spray a light coating of fogging oil into each cylinder, then turn the engine over by hand or with the starter, with the coil disconnected, for a few rotations. This creates a moisture-proof seal on your piston rings and cylinder walls. It prevents flash rust from forming, which is the acetate 1 cause of that crunchy sound and ring damage during your first spring startup. It's like putting a protective layer of Saran wrap over your engine's heart. The final word: caretaking the legend look. We are just the temporary caretakers of these machines. They don't make them like this anymore. No computers, no plastic engine covers, just pure American steel and engineering. If we don't treat them right, they'll disappear into the scrap heap, and another piece of history will be gone. Proper storage isn't just about keeping the dust off. It's about preserving the soul of the car. I want to hear from the Grease Monkey community. What's the biggest storage fail you've ever seen? Did a mouse eat the interior of your '68 GTO, or did your fuel tank turn into a rust bucket? Drop your horror stories in the comments below. We all learn from each other's mistakes. If this video saved your floor pans from the rust gods, or kept your engine from seizing, smash that like button. If you want more real talk on how to keep your American iron running until the year 2100, subscribe and hit the bell. Knowledge is the only tool that never rusts. See you in the next one.